He invited 9 people to my private pool at 9 a.m. after I said no 100 times and expected me to just vibe. I wake up at 9 in the morning, face still half asleep, walk onto my balcony, look down at my pool, and there are 9 people already making themselves comfortable in my yard. 9 people that I did not invite, that I did not know, just sitting there like they live there, while I am standing in my pajamas trying to figure out if I am actually awake right now. And the worst part is the one person who let them in acted like this was completely normal. Let me take you back to the beginning because you need to understand exactly how many times this person was told no before we get to that moment. So our narrator just transferred to a brand new school in a completely new area where he literally knew nobody. He did not know the streets, did not know the lunch spots, did not know a single face in the hallway. He was starting completely from scratch in every possible way. First day he pulls up in his car, it is a noticeable car, and suddenly everyone wants to be his friend. People who had never spoken a word to him were leaning over to introduce themselves, asking questions, laughing a little too loudly at things he said. And he noticed it. He is not oblivious. He understood immediately that the car was doing most of the heavy lifting in those early conversations. Now he already mentioned he is naturally cautious and introverted, not rude, not antisocial, just someone who takes a long time to trust people and really values his personal space. He is the kind of person who would rather have 2 or 3 people he genuinely connects with than a room full of acquaintances who do not actually know him at all. That context matters more than people realize, because this is not someone who decided one morning to be difficult. This is just who he genuinely is, and he has been that way long before any of this happened. Most of the people who started talking to him after seeing his car he kept at arm's length, which honestly seems pretty smart when someone's first reason for approaching you is your stuff. He was friendly enough, made small talk, but he never let those conversations get deeper than they needed to be. He had his guard up and he had it up for a reason. But then there was Alex. Alex seemed different. Yeah, he was initially drawn in by the car and the attention like everyone else, but something about how he carried himself felt more genuine, less performative. He was not trying too hard. He did not seem to be calculating what being close to this person might do for him socially. He just seemed like someone who was genuinely curious and easy to be around. So over a few weeks they actually built something that felt like a real friendship. The kind where you start texting about nothing, where hanging out does not require a plan, where the other person starts to feel like someone you can actually be yourself around. Alex got added to a group chat, they started hanging out, and at some point people in the group chat started seeing snaps of the house, noticed the pool, and predictably everyone started asking to come over. And every single time, our narrator said no. Not rudely. Not dramatically. He just explained very clearly and very calmly that he is not the type of person who likes having a lot of people in his space. He put real thought and real words into explaining himself because he wanted people to understand rather than just feel rejected. He even gave the extra context that most of the time it is just him, his sister, and some workers around because his dad is usually away or busy, so he already does not love the idea of random people being in that environment. There is something vulnerable about letting strangers into a space that is mostly just yours, where the routines are yours and the quiet is yours. He communicated all of that openly and honestly. Most people heard that and dropped it. That is the normal human response when someone explains their boundaries. You hear it, you respect it, you move on. Alex kept pushing though. Not in a loud or aggressive way at first. It was the slow and persistent kind of pushing, the kind that does not feel alarming in any single moment but adds up to something significant over time. He would bring it up again when the conversation was light and easy. He would make it sound casual, like he was just floating the idea one more time in case something had changed. And every time, our narrator held the line and said no again. He was not rude about it, but he was consistent, and consistency should have been enough. Eventually, and this part is important, our narrator did not just cave and invite the whole group. He made a specific and deliberate exception for Alex alone. Just Alex. He thought about it carefully. He weighed the friendship against his own comfort and decided this person had earned a little more access than the rest. And the conditions of that arrangement were crystal clear. You want to come over, text first. Do not randomly show up. He wanted the ability to mentally prepare, to choose the moment, to feel in control of who was entering his space and when. He even told the gate guy the same thing. If Alex comes, let me know before you let him in. He built an entire little system specifically to protect his comfort while still giving this friendship a real chance. That is not someone being paranoid or controlling. That is someone doing the actual work of making a friendship function on terms they can live with. And for a while it worked. They would hang out, watch movies, swim, eat, the normal stuff. There was an ease to it that felt good. Our narrator could relax in his own home because Alex had proven he could be trusted there. He was not loud, was not trying to turn everything into an event, was not pushing to invite other people in. He just existed in that space comfortably and let our narrator exist comfortably too. Our narrator even said he genuinely started trusting Alex more because Alex always seemed to get it. Whenever our narrator reminded him about his personality or his space, Alex would say, "Yeah, I understand, I respect that." He nodded. He listened. He never made our narrator feel like his preferences were inconvenient or strange or something that needed to be fixed. He gave every signal that he was one of those rare people who actually listens. He was not. So Saturday morning arrives. 9 a.m. Our narrator is deep asleep, which on a Saturday morning is entirely reasonable and normal for any human being. The kind of sleep that feels earned after a week of navigating a new school, new people, new everything. He gets a call from the gate guy saying Alex is here. Already he is a little annoyed because Alex did not text first like they agreed, but he is trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. He is consciously pushing down the irritation and reaching for generosity. Maybe it is something urgent. Maybe he just forgot. Maybe there is a perfectly reasonable explanation and he does not want to be the kind of person who makes a big thing out of nothing. He decides to be understanding and walks out to his balcony, still blinking sleep out of his eyes, to look down and see what is going on. And that is when he sees it. Not Alex. Not Alex and one other person. Not even Alex and 2 or 3 people that might have pushed the line but still felt like a conversation you could have. Alex standing at his pool with 8 other human beings who are already sitting around and getting comfortable like they were invited to a pool party that was planned weeks in advance. Some are in chairs. Some are already dipping their feet in. They have cups. They have their things with them. They are settled in the way people only settle in when they believe they are exactly where they are supposed to be. 9 people total. At 9 in the morning. After our narrator was woken up from sleep. After he was never asked. After he was never warned. After he said no to the entire group chat every single time they asked. I genuinely cannot imagine what that moment felt like to stand on a balcony half asleep and see that. Our narrator texts Alex to ask if he is there, just to double-check he is actually seeing what he thinks he is seeing. Part of him must have hoped there was some explanation, some misunderstanding, some version of this that made sense. Alex texts back, "Yeah bro, come down." Casual. Cheerful even. Like this is perfectly normal. Like everything is fine and the day is going great. No acknowledgement of the 8 extra people he brought. No heads up. No apology. Nothing. Just come down like it is any other day and our narrator is the one making it weird by not already being down there. So our narrator goes downstairs, and the walk down those stairs must have felt long. He is waking up fully now, the sleep burning off, replaced by something that is probably equal parts disbelief and quiet fury. He pulls Alex aside immediately, away from the group, and asks what is going on and who all these people are. Alex explains that they are just friends who came to chill. That is the whole explanation. Just friends. Like that is supposed to land as something reasonable. And then our narrator reminds him, very directly, that he explicitly said not to bring random people to his house. Not once. Not casually. He said it multiple times, in full sentences, with reasons attached. He was extremely clear about it. And instead of recognizing that he messed up and apologizing, Alex tells him to stop being stiff and just vibe with them. He literally says he knows our narrator does not usually like people but that he will enjoy this. That sentence. That one sentence. Let me explain why that sentence is so much worse than it sounds on the surface. When Alex says he knows our narrator does not usually like people but that he will enjoy this once he gets into it, he is not being a fun-loving friend trying to bring someone out of their shell. He is making a decision that his judgment about what our narrator should feel comfortable with is more valid than our narrator's own stated preferences. He is treating a grown adult's clearly communicated personal boundaries as a little personality quirk that just needs to be pushed past. He is saying, essentially, I know you better than you know yourself, and I have decided that what I want to do today matters more than what you have told me repeatedly that you are comfortable with. He is reframing our narrator's entire personality as a problem he has taken it upon himself to solve. And he is doing it in our narrator's own home, in front of a crowd he brought there without permission. That is not friendship. That is someone who was never really listening at any point during the entire time they knew each other. And then our narrator does something that some people might say was too far but that I think was entirely earned by that moment. He tells Alex to take everybody and leave. Alex does not leave. Instead he goes back to the group and then starts shouting from across the yard asking him to just do it this once, come have fun with them. He is not talking to our narrator anymore. He is performing. He is playing to the crowd, using their presence to create pressure, turning what should be a private conversation into a public spectacle. And the crowd is playing along because some of them start making comments like relax and come on. They do not know this person. They have never met him before this moment. They were not invited and they know it on some level. But they are comfortable enough in a stranger's yard, looking at a stranger's pool, to tell that stranger to calm down about the fact that they are there. They are all standing in someone else's home that they were not invited to, being asked to leave, and their response is to boo and heckle the person whose house it actually is. That is when our narrator loses it and tells them in very clear and loud terms to get out of his house. Multiple times. Because they were standing there like they expected him to change his mind if they just waited long enough. Like the right amount of social pressure would eventually flip a switch and he would throw his hands up and decide to be a different person with different values. He wanted them gone and he made sure they understood it. And honestly, good. He eventually had to call the gate guy to physically escort people out because even the direct order to leave was not moving fast enough for some of them. They shuffled, they grumbled, they probably exchanged looks with each other the way people do when they want to signal to the group that they think someone is being unreasonable. After that he went back inside, into the quiet of his own home, and by the end of the day Alex had removed him from the group chat and stopped talking to him completely. Here is my verdict and I am not going to be gentle about it. Alex was never the friend our narrator thought he was. The entire friendship, from the moment Alex kept insisting on coming over after being told no to the moment he showed up with 8 people unannounced, was Alex treating our narrator's home and comfort as a resource to be accessed rather than a space to be respected. The fact that he kept pushing to come over at all after the initial no should have been a warning sign. The fact that he then turned one approved visit into a gateway for bringing a whole group without permission shows that he was always looking for a way in, not genuinely trying to be a good friend on terms that worked for both of them. The escalation to shouting was loud, yes. But it was the direct result of being ignored, having his boundaries overridden, being told by someone in his own home to relax and just vibe, and then watching a group of people who should not even be there stand around waiting for him to just get over it. The moment our narrator said leave and they did not immediately start moving, the situation had already crossed a line that made a stronger reaction completely understandable. You do not get to invade someone's private space and then act shocked when they raise their voice after you refuse to leave when asked politely. The group chat removal and the silent treatment from Alex are actually the clearest possible proof that Alex knew exactly what he did was wrong and had no interest in owning it. If he genuinely believed he had done nothing inappropriate and that our narrator overreacted for no reason, the move would be to have a conversation about it, to reach out and say, "Hey, I think we both handled that badly," to actually engage with the situation like an adult. Instead he ran. He cut contact because staying in contact would require acknowledging that he disrespected someone who trusted him, showed up uninvited with a crowd, refused to leave when asked, and then let the group mock the person whose house they were standing in. He did not want to have that conversation because there is no version of it where he comes out looking okay. Our narrator should not spend one more minute wondering if he overreacted. He did not. He just finally responded in proportion to how little Alex had actually been respecting him all along. I started leaving 1-star reviews on every company that spam texts me, and now they are calling me furious. You get a text from a company you have never heard of, sent to your personal phone, mentioning your street address, asking if you want a quote for a service you never asked about. And then tomorrow you get another one. And the next day 2 more. And by the end of the week you have received so many of these that you have started to feel like your own phone number is just a piece of data that strangers are buying and selling while you have absolutely no say in any of it. So what do you do when every normal solution fails and they just keep coming? Our narrator has been dealing with a very specific and deeply annoying kind of spam text. Not the vague kind that tries to pretend they know you or the robotic kind that is obviously automated. These ones are designed to feel personal. They use your name. They mention your street. They talk about a service happening near you, mold removal, roof repair, carpet cleaning, things that sound like they could genuinely be relevant. The whole setup is engineered to make you feel like this is a real local company reaching out, when in reality it is a lead generation service that contractors are paying to mass text every number in a neighborhood and collect the responses of anyone who shows interest. 3 to 5 of these a day. Every single day. And the thing that makes it so corrosive is not any single text but the accumulation of them, the way they keep arriving at random hours, interrupting meals and conversations and quiet moments, each one carrying that same hollow imitation of familiarity. Your name typed out like someone who actually knows you, your street mentioned like a neighbor waving from across the yard, when the reality is that your most basic personal details have been packaged and sold to people who will never think about you for a single second beyond the revenue you might generate. At some point a reasonable person hits a wall. And the wall is not just frustration. It is something closer to helplessness, which is its own particular kind of miserable. You block one number and the next text comes from a different one. You reply stop and nothing changes, or worse, replying confirms to the system that your number is active and responsive, which can actually increase the volume. You report it and nothing happens. You wait it out and it does not stop. Every tool available to an ordinary person runs into the same ceiling, which is that the system generating these texts was designed with full awareness that people will try to make it stop, and it was built to survive those attempts. So our narrator comes up with a strategy that is genuinely clever in a way I deeply respect. He feigns interest. He responds like he wants a quote, gets the information he needs to identify the actual company behind the text, and then goes to Google and leaves a 1-star review. Not a vague angry review. A specific and informative one that explains to other potential customers that this company is paying a marketing service to mass text strangers using their personal addresses, and that anyone reading the review should know what they are actually dealing with before doing business with them. He writes it calmly. He writes it factually. He does not catastrophize or call for anyone to avoid the company entirely. He just documents what happened, the way you would if a contractor showed up uninvited and knocked on your door 5 times a day until you answered. This is creative. This is using the exact same public information infrastructure that businesses rely on to build trust, and turning it into a tool for accountability. Google reviews exist precisely so that consumers can share their experiences with a company, and being mass texted without consent by a company's marketing arm is absolutely a consumer experience worth documenting. He is not lying in the review. He is not exaggerating. He is telling the truth about what these companies are doing and giving other people the information to make an informed choice. The response from the companies is immediate and telling. Every single company that gets reviewed calls him or texts him back almost instantly, which is honestly a little ironic given the situation. They are furious. Some try to play it professionally and be patient about it, but they all land in the same place, which is the belief that he has done them some enormous injustice. You can hear it in the tone of their messages, that particular flavor of indignation that belongs to someone who has never really considered that their actions might have consequences. They speak about the review like it is an attack. Like he reached into their business and broke something precious. And here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. These companies already have his address. They had it before any of this started because that is the entire foundation of their marketing approach. They target people by location. So now he is in a situation where he left a public review, they have reacted angrily, they have his address. And the dynamic has shifted from him being mildly annoyed by texts to him dealing with people who feel wronged and have more information about him than he has about them. Let me sit with that for a second because it matters. The companies are operating from a position where they feel completely entitled to reach out to strangers using personal data they paid to access, but the moment someone responds to that outreach in a way they do not like, they treat it as a violation. They texted first. They used his address first. They built a business model around contacting people who never asked to be contacted. But a one-star review from someone who had a direct experience with their marketing practices is somehow the thing that crosses a line. The logic only makes sense if you start from the premise that businesses have a right to access your personal information and your attention, but you have no corresponding right to respond to that access in a way that affects them. That is not how it works. Or at least, that is not how it should work. Now I do want to be honest about the part of this that is genuinely complicated. The review strategy works because it creates real consequences for these companies. A one-star review on Google is not a small thing. It affects their rating, it affects how they appear in searches, it can genuinely cost them customers who otherwise would have had a perfectly fine experience with the actual service they provide. The lead generation company that is doing the texting and the contractor who hired them are not always the same people, and sometimes the contractor is a legitimate local business that made a poor choice about how to find new clients. Maybe they are a small operation, 2 or 3 people, trying to grow in a competitive market, who handed their marketing budget to a third-party service and did not look too closely at the methods being used. That does not make what happened acceptable. But it does mean the person absorbing the consequence of the review is not always the same person who designed the system causing the harm. So there is a real question about whether the scale of the consequence, a public permanent negative review, is proportionate to the offense, being sent an unsolicited text. But then I think about 3 to 5 texts per day. Every single day. Using his street address. With no opt-out that actually works. And that question gets a lot easier to answer. Here is where I land on this, and I am not particularly conflicted about it. What our narrator is doing is legal, honest, and proportionate to the situation when you look at it clearly. He is not threatening anyone. He is not harassing anyone. He is not contacting them first. He is responding to their outreach by leaving an accurate public record of his experience with their marketing practices. The fact that companies find this uncomfortable is not a moral argument against doing it. It is just a sign that they are used to operating in a space where the power dynamic is almost entirely in their favor and where most people either ignore the texts or respond in ways that generate money for the company. Our narrator found the one response that costs them something, and they do not like it. The callback and the anger are actually proof that the strategy works. They are not calling him because they feel bad about texting him. They are calling him because the review hurts and they want it gone. If mass texting strangers with their home addresses was genuinely something these companies felt good about, the reviews would not sting the way they clearly do. The discomfort they are expressing is the natural result of someone finding a lever and pulling it, and that is completely fair in a situation where every other lever available to regular people, blocking numbers, replying stop, ignoring the texts, does nothing to actually slow the volume down. The part about them having his address and the situation feeling one-sided is real and worth acknowledging. That asymmetry is uncomfortable, and it makes sense that it would create a feeling of unease once things escalate past the text exchange. But that asymmetry was created by them, not by him. They chose a marketing model that gives them personal location data on the people they are targeting. The fact that this information creates an uncomfortable dynamic when the person on the other end fights back is not his problem to manage. It is a consequence of the way they chose to do business. He is not the asshole here. He is the person who finally figured out how to make being ignored actually cost something. So which one hit harder for you? Comment down below. And if you want more stories like these, hit the like and subscribe, it genuinely helps more than you think.